Hello and welcome. My name is Alexander Moreira from AlphaStar Academy, and today we're going to be talking about the palindrome game. In this problem, we're given a pool of S rocks, and Bessie and Elsie are taking turns removing rocks from the pile. So Bessie goes first, then Elsie goes, and then they alternate taking turns. And the player who takes the last rock wins the game. On each turn, the number of rocks that Bessie and Elsie can remove must be a palindrome. And a palindrome is just a number that is read the same forwards and backwards. So for example, 1 is a palindrome, 121 is a palindrome, 9009 is a palindrome. And one thing you'll note about this problem is that S can be quite large. So S can go up to 100,000 digits. So that means we need to solve the problem very quickly in terms of the size of S. This tells us that we need a clever idea to solve the problem. And how do we find clever ideas? Well, we find clever ideas by starting solving the problem on small test cases. So I've done exactly that here. I've written out who wins the game based on the number of rocks we have. So if we have 1 rock, Bessie wins the game. If we have 2 rocks, Bessie wins the game. And in particular, if we have up to 9 rocks, so from 1 to 9 rocks, Bessie wins all of these games. Why does Bessie win all of these games? Because all of these numbers are palindromes. So Bessie is just going to be able to take all of the rocks and instantly win the game. The first game she doesn't win is game 10. And the key observation here is that any player that starts their turn with 10 rocks available to them is going to lose the game. This is because 10 is the first number that is not a palindrome. So Bessie's going to have to take some number from 1 to 9, leaving for Elsie some number from 1 to 9. So Bessie's going to take some rocks, and then Elsie will be able to immediately win the game. So whoever starts their turn with 10 rocks remaining is going to lose the game. So that's why Elsie wins if we start with 10 rocks. This same fact means that Bessie's going to win the game if we start with 11 to 19 rocks. Why? Well, Bessie can just select the number of rocks necessary to force Elsie to start her turn with 10 rocks. So she could grab 1 rock if she had 11, that produces 10. If she had 16 rocks, she could grab 6, that produces 10, and so on, always forcing Elsie to start her turn with 10 rocks available to her. But this strategy breaks down at 20 rocks because Bessie can no longer force Elsie to start with 10 rocks. She can't force Elsie to start with 10 rocks because in order to force Elsie to start with 10 rocks, she'd have to grab 10 rocks, but 10 is not a palindrome. So Bessie has to grab some other number of rocks, and then Elsie can either grab all of the rocks or force Bessie to start her turn on 10 rocks. So Elsie will win the game if it starts with 20 rocks. And then Bessie wins if she starts with 21. Why does she win? Well, she can force Elsie to start her turn with 20 rocks by grabbing 1 rock. And by now you should see a pattern, right? So it seems like Bessie wins the game as long as the number is not divisible by 10, right? So Elsie wins the game if the number is divisible by 10, and Bessie wins otherwise. So it seems like all we have to do in this problem is determine whether or not the number S is divisible by 10. This can be tricky because S is a large number, but we can solve this problem by just reading S in as a string and then grabbing the last digit. So if the last digit of the number is a 0, then we know it's divisible by 10. Otherwise, it must be not divisible by 10. So we can begin by reading in the number of test cases, right? So in this problem, there are multiple test cases per test case. So this says there are 3 test cases, and each of these is 1 potential number for the pool size. So then we'll loop over all of the test cases, and we'll read in S from the input. Then we're going to check if the last character in S is equal to 0. If it is, then we know that Elsie has won the game, so we print out E. Otherwise, we print out B to signify that Bessie won the game. So let's save this, upload it to the grading server, and see if it passes all of the test cases. So let's hit go. It's going to take a minute to find a grading server, and we're going to see that all test cases are passing. So thank you guys so much for watching the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.